Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to read a pretty entertaining article titled, Young Men Reveal Why So Many of Them Are Single. Dates Feel More Like Job Interviews. And a big shout out to TC for sending me this story. And guys, this is brand new. I think it's from the New York Post. It came out today or was yesterday. And here we are with an article for yet another reason why so many young guys just simply aren't interested in dating or relationships. And this article is going to interview some guys to talk about how not just how demanding the gals are nowadays, but when they actually go out on a date with them, so many of them feel like it's a job interview. And I'm not talking about just asking questions about where you like to travel, what do you like to do for fun. I'm talking about where you see yourself in 5 years, what kind of job you want to have, what's your earning potential, how many kids you want to have. I mean, just not dating. There was a time period supposed to be fun. Get together with somebody you're attracted to, that you like, you get along, and see where it goes. But now it's a full-on corporate job interview. And for young guys that are already fed up with how things are nowadays anyway, this is just yet another reason why so many of them are like, nah, not interested. And I've covered this before, guys, in a lot of videos about why so many young guys just aren't interested in dating relationships. I did a video a couple weeks ago about it. You know, the unrealistic expectations so many gals have nowadays. They're completely delusional in terms of their own self-worth and what they bring to the table. You have average gals, just average gals that go around like they're supermodels, which is just ridiculous. And they're very demanding. They demand guys that have certain incomes, certain height, the old sixes, 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, 6-pack, 6 inches more down south. And statistically, that's not going to happen. It's mathematically impossible that every gal can get that guy. But yet they still go for that guy and are pissed off when that other guys aren't like that. That's one reason. And also guys are not interested because so many gals nowadays are very masculine, conditioned by the feminist movement, who think that men should be more feminine and women should be more masculine. And what we have here is a lot of feminine guys out there, and you know I'm right about that. They act like women, and a lot of women that act like men. That's a turnoff, amongst many other things. And you can add this to the list. So I'm going to go through this article here. You'll find it entertaining. And for those of you guys that date, this is going to come to a surprise to you here. So it starts off, it says here, new data from the Pew Research Center has shown that 63% of men under age 30 are single, up from 51% in 2019. Let me read that again. 63% of men under 30 are single, up from 51% from 2019. That's a big jump in just 4 years. COVID isolation and women's high expectations for something serious are the main reasons they're avoiding going out and coupling up, young guys say. It says here, dates feel more like job interviews now. Much more like, what can you do for me and where is this going? Said Ian Breslow, a 28-year-old high school teacher who lives in Astoria. The getting to know you period is gone, and it doesn't feel so great after coming out of isolation. He recalled a recent first date that went quite well until a woman interrogated him on their walk home. So right there. And again, it's supposed to be fun. You know? Let things take their course. I got no problem with certain questions, don't get me wrong. But still, if it feels like a freaking job interview, then what the hell? But you're going to see in a moment, guys, it's going to come down to the fact that these gals are fighting the clock. They're fighting the clock because the big 3-0 is coming along. What I always tell you about the big 3-0, that number scares the shit out of women. Because they know darn well when they hit 30 that they're not as desirable as they were when they were 25. And a lot have the biological clock going off. They see all their girlfriends getting married. They got to race to the altar, that type of thing. So, and here's a big question. Why weren't these gals maybe a little more fun and relaxed with the dating process, looking for a serious guy years earlier? Well, because we know back years earlier, they were being Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City. They were many riding the carousel. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I'm almost 30. I got to rush things along. I got to hurry up and be pushy to these guys. And these guys are like, nope, we're in no rush. And you will see this is how guys in their 30s that have their shit together, they got it made. Because a man's prime begins in his 30s and honestly can go into his 50s. Guys can take their time because these gals are in a hurry. And it's like, hey, we're going at my pace. I don't have to rush for you. It says here, the gal interrogated him on their walk home. He says, she literally asked me, would you rather our kids go to public or private school? What the hell kind of question is that for a first date? followed by several more extreme questions about getting married. I just responded with what I knew as she would hate the most to get her to leave. Experts agree that women are certainly wanting more than ever before. Well, I agree with that, but who are these experts? You hear these articles, experts say this and experts say that. Who gave them who made them an expert, and what suddenly makes them an expert on these things? If there's anybody who's an expert on these things, I would say that guys like me that have these channels that read thousands of articles and stories, we're the experts, but nobody's asked me yet for a quote for one of these articles. The overall picture is that if a woman is going on a date with a man, chances are it's not a casual fling, says Ronald Levant, professor of psychology at the University of Akron, told the Post. He says, especially if the woman is kind of getting close to 30. She's thinking about the biological clock and wants to have a family, he added. Well, there you go. We have an expert that's accurate about something. Right there. She's getting close to 30. So that's why I tell you guys, you relationship guys, be aware that if all of a sudden the girls are suddenly paying attention to you, mid-20s on up, the type of gals that wouldn't when you were younger, high school, college, whatever, and nothing about you has changed about your personality or looks. You're the same old guy that you always were when you were ignored by girls, except now you got a job and you make some decent money. Be aware that the clock's ticking. And be aware someone could be looking for their nice guy to be a provider. Okay? They didn't mature all of a sudden overnight. They didn't see things differently overnight. They're just wanting to settle. And they see you as a easy pickings. So be careful. Breslow is not looking to settle down and get married anytime soon, so he'd rather have casual flings. There you go. That's his business. And he can take his time. The way dating is currently just makes me want to hook up locally with no stress or strings attached, he says. Fortunately, that part comes very easily. I'm unmotivated to search for something serious for the time being. Okay, that's his business, and guess what? He doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do, as do any of you guys that do dating and relationships. So if you think you need to be rushed into something, or you feel like you're being pushed by your family or friends or community, or pushed by other women, take your time, because you got plenty out there that are going to be desperate to get a guy. It says here, Andrew Bruno, a 28-year-old nurse from Belmore, New York, says flirting in the post-COVID era just isn't fun as it once was. Being able to naturally approach people while out isn't like it was pre-pandemic. People are still much less likely to leave their groups or cliques at a bar, said Bruno. They're certainly less talkative, and that's lowered my incentive to put myself out there. He also said the pandemic, more than ever before, made dating apps more central means for meeting people, and he's not a fan. Dating apps are just a waste of time. For most guys, I'd say 90% of guys out there, it's a waste of time, because they're going to go for the top 5 to 10% of guys on there. That's it. He says this just really isn't my style. Like there's a weeks long prerequisite before you can even think about getting involved, even for casual things. I'd rather take all that effort and put it towards my career. In other words, focus on his purpose. And like Breslow, he's in no hurry to get hitched. See? All these guys. It is very interesting to me to see this change here, because now, for a while in the past, when men acted like men and women acted like women were feminine, men were masculine, it was always the woman that was chasing after the guy and pushing him to commit, to settle, all that, because that's feminine energy. And eventually he would. And then things shifted thanks to feminism, conditioning guys to be more feminine, and the brainwashing by movies and TV. And then you had all the guys chasing after the gals to commit and settle. Total role reversal. But now we're starting to see things shift back, where now the guys are in no hurry, and now the women are in a rush again. He says, I'm also still very young, Bruno said, and I don't feel the need to rush, especially if people don't act as naturally as they did before COVID. Why would I put it all out there for someone who can't or won't hold a conversation? Exactly. And the sad thing is that as time has gone on, and thanks to social media, people have far less social skills than they once had. Because there's a time and place that you want to talk to somebody, you either did it in person or on the phone, okay? Then you had texting, and then you have social media and things like that, and just people lost their ability. And you go out anywhere, guys, you know darn well you can't talk to anybody because people are there always on their phones. It's amazing to me. For Mike M., a 25-year-old in Queens, it's his, not the opposite, sex's social skills, they're still battling a bad case of long COVID. I definitely can't walk into a room and go talk to someone I'm interested in like I used to be able to. It feels like my outgoingness has suffered some atrophy. Mike, who withheld his last name out of embarrassment, told the Post. Okay, so he's a little rusty. You practice and you'll get back on that horse. He's also having less SCX than he did pre-pandemic. I've definitely been going online to take care of my urges more than I have been seeing people, Mike admitted. He feels as though he's lost his prime years in his early 20s of being able to date and have fun without worrying about being in a serious relationship. Dude, your prime years are not your 20s. A man's prime years start in his 30s. He's got plenty of time. But the problem is that a lot of gals their prime is their teens and 20s in terms of the looks and body type department. And so when they're ready to settle, that's when the guy's prime begin. And so many guys just throw in the towel at that point because they've been so desperate to get a girl that the first girl pays attention to them, then boom, they rush into it, marry her, and are surprised when their life sucks. Now he's under pressure to find a long-term commitment, but he can't put himself out there. He says, I also feel like I'm caught between two worlds. He said, ultimately, I've been crashing and have had neither lately. So that's the end of that quick article. Now in a moment, I'm going to read some comments because I love the comments, especially on something like this much bigger publication, and you really get a lot of guys, their opinions on things. But so here we are, yet another reason why so many young guys aren't interested in dating relationships. I've given all the reasons, and you can add on the whole job interview thing there. I mean, and again, I got no problem when a gal wants to get to know a guy and wants to make sure she's not wasting her time. But you can see that this is way more extreme than that. Asking where all our kids go to private school or public school or something. What kind of goddamn question is that for the first date, right? I got no problem asking a guy what he does for a living and things like that, but where are you going to be in 5 years, earning potential? It's like, are you shitting me? We're just meeting up for a freaking beer to get to know each other and have a little fun. Have fun, imagine that. But when they're rushing because the biological clock is ticking, the pressure that they feel, not necessarily accurate, but feel, they rush things along. But guys don't need to understand that you can do whatever the fuck you want. I urge guys in their 20s to focus on their grind, their purpose, making something of themselves, establishing themselves instead of doing the relationship shit. And that way then they're in no rush, no hurry, and because of that, they have a much better situation compared to guys that try to rush into things for whatever reason. And of course, that just how things are nowadays. But it's just very interesting to shift this already starting to take place here. And a lot of these women that were so ultra picky and still are so ultra picky, they're going to be the ones winding up in their 40s and 50s with no family, alone, and crying about it and angry. Either they're going to be angry at men in the world because they didn't have a guy, even though they were the ones that screwed themselves by being psychotically picky, amongst many other things. Or they'll be telling the young gals, don't be so picky, pretty much stop riding the carousel, all that. Don't become like me. So we'll see. But I know some women like that, and it's amazing. And they were so unbelievably picky. And now they've had to resort to medical science to have children. You know what I mean by that. But anyhow, guys, that was an interesting one to cover here. Now, some comments. I love these. This one guy says here, unrealistic expectations and standards on both ends. A lot of guys want Instagram model types. A lot of gals want tall, dark, handsome, and rich. Anything less is considered settling, which is a fate worse than death for this generation. There are so many of these exceptional people to go around, and the reality is that most of us are average. Well, a lot of guys do have, I would say a lot, but definitely there's a portion of guys that have unrealistic expectations. They want the Instagram models, and it's like, dude, have you looked in the mirror? Have you seen your bank account? You're not going to get some hot model. Okay, I'll be realistic here. You can get an 8, but you ain't going to get a 10. And why would you want a 10 anyway? They're hookups, not relationship material. But the gals, average gals, think they're entitled to these top guys. And it's like, fuck, the girls that are 9s and 10s aren't getting these top guys, so how do you think you're going to get that? Now the guy says here, yeah, I don't think it's so much both sides at all. The guys may want Instagram model types, but are realistic and go with attractive, down-to-earth women. While the gals want a tall, rich, handsome, traditional, without being traditional woman, and keep conducting dates as business transactions. This is from an older guy. This older guy says here, unfortunately, you can't impart onto young people just how fast it all goes, and you realize that it's not all about the SCX and money and things. The joy of family, once gone, it can't be recovered. There's no going back. I wouldn't trade my wife, kids, and grandkids for all the money in the world. The journey, the struggle, the sacrifices are what gives meaning to life. You can't put a price on that. Okay, that's from an older guy, grandfather. Another one, this is from a guy here talking about the scene. He says, I can only talk about life in the East Coast, in D.C. and New York City, and the standards of women truly have increased to an insane degree. I'm a 32-year-old college-educated man who makes decent money, who goes to the gym 3 times a week. I'm in great shape. Who takes pride in his appearance, has good social skills, who can't find an average young lady, 6.5 looks, and agreeableness department. I have many friends who are also single, who also have similar physical attributes as I do, and some even make more money and are still single. So right here, you got a guy who's 32 years old, his prime's beginning, makes decent money, takes care of himself in good shape, and even he and his friends that are like him or make more money, they have problems because of the pickiness, and he's on the higher end of things. Online dating for a man is a waste of time. However, the abundance of choice, even my coworkers have told me about this, has caused women to think they have endless options. The standards of women have caused 2 of them with graduate degrees to give up. It's like, at night you want to watch something on TV. When I was a kid, there were only so many channels on TV. So you had to pick something, right? But now, look how many options we have in shows. And how many of you guys have sat down to watch TV or watch something at night with your dinner, and you're just going through. It takes you 45 minutes to find something. Meanwhile, your dinner's over with, and you got to go to bed. It's kind of like that with the gals, with the selection dudes out there that are bombarding with attention on Instagram and dating apps and all that. And I'm not giving them a pass. I'm just saying it's kind of similar. It also says, and here's a fact. In 2012, I was told it was coming. My sister, who graduated from Cornell in 2010, said, quote, if you want a wife, get her now. Women are changing. They think they have a higher calling. They are redefining everything. Hurry up. I didn't understand what she meant, and being in my early 20s, obviously I didn't listen, and now I see how correct she was. So his own sister was telling him. And one more, this guy says here, this is from a guy, I definitely see that women have higher expectations than ever before. I consider myself a good-looking catch for many reasons and above-average looks, and it's very difficult for me to date American women in New York City. And I'm just not their type, and vice versa. And my observation is that women may consider themselves a 10 out of 10 and deserve the perfect specimen of a man. And the few women that have realistic expectations are already in happy relationships. I moved to Colombia, and the women here are very sweet, kind, and open-minded to meet different people. And I know a lot of Americans have stereotypes of women here, but they're generally unfounded. Dating is very different, and in my opinion, it's better. I actually enjoy to meet women here. So there you go. I don't know what it is with Colombia. I've been hearing Colombia a lot lately. Guys going to Colombia to meet women. Maybe that's the new place. I don't know. And then with so many guys going there to meet women, then they're going to start having American women's attitude. So we'll see how things work out in Colombia in 10 years. But anyhow, guys, there are more comments, but I'm going to wrap it up here. So there you go. That's another reason. And it's an article. But more of these are popping up because everybody's just so puzzled why so many young guys aren't interested. And there's a point when guys are just like, you know what? Why would I bother? Why would I bother with the environment we're in right now? And it's just becoming more and more common. And so you're just going to have a lot more single gals out there frustrated and pissed off because they can't get a guy. And ultimately, a lot of it has to do with what they've done to themselves. Don't get me wrong. There are definitely guys out there that you can understand why women want to date them. Fine, fair enough. But when you have guys that actually have decent jobs, good-looking guys, take care of themselves, well-spoken, social skills, all that, and still they're not good enough, it's like, okay, see you in 20 years, and you'll be crying just like the girls I know. They're crying because they couldn't get a guy, or because they could get a guy, well, they were just too picky, and now they're alone because no guy wants them in their 40s. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. Let me know, guys, in the comments section. Is this something you experienced? Have you been out with gals and you feel like you're getting an interview to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company? I'd like to hear about that. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.